Hello, welcome back to the Kitchen Table Modelers Workshop. My name's Ian and well, here's my bench where I build everything. So, kit review day today. It's been a little while since I've had any videos up. It's just been life, gotten really busy. But I got this kit and added to the stash not so long ago, and I thought I would get a video up of a review of the kit, followed by a build series. I do intend to build this one straight away, just to try and get a bit more different content than just video reviews all the time. So it's, as you can see by the box, it's Revell's Lockheed PV-1 Ventura. It's a twin-engined medium to light bomber, and as you can see, it's in Pacific Theatre paint scheme. This is a kit, I think it's an older kit, turn of the 2000s, but the molds hold up pretty well from what I see. I'm going to be interested to see what's in this box, and even more interested to see how it goes together. I do intend to build this kit straight out of the box and see what we get, and hopefully it'll be a reasonably speedy and enjoyable build. Anyway, enough waffling, let's get the kit on the table, get the camera overhead and see what we get inside the box. So, box on the table, and as always, box art is pretty impressive. As I said, this is an older tooling from Revell, around about 2000. So it's getting to be, the kit's starting to get into the teensy years, if not into the early 20s. And it's a better boxing by Revell because it's a top opening box. So have a quick look around. You've got the dimensions, a little bit of information, a painting guide, and then we've got a couple of schemes. So we've got the Attu, Alaska, 1943, and British Columbia, 1943. So there's at least two paint schemes there. This is kit number, where are we? It's a licensed product by Lockheed Martin. Right, so it's kit number 855531, and it's actually going to be quite difficult to show you the ends of the box. The ends is just a repeat of the upper, and then on the far side you've actually got a couple of colour photographs of how the model should build up. It's for 12 plus, and it's a skill level 3. So when we lift the box lid, it's a reasonably stout box. It could be thicker cardboard, but it seems to have stood the test of time. We've got one opening out booklet type instructions, and 1, 2, 3, 4 bags of parts, and a decal sheet. So we may as well start with the biggest bag first. So there's a few sprues in here. In fact, no. I'll go instructions first. Why break a habit of a lifetime? I'll zoom in a little bit. Right, so we've got the usual blurb here. And then what we also get is we get the colour callouts, and then we've got part names. Very unusual. Everything's got a part name if you really want to get into what bits is where. And that goes on for 138 pieces. So there we go. Anyway, part 1, we've got the pilot and navigator, pilot and co-pilot, chairs in the front cockpit. We've got what possibly could be a radio box. Moving on to the instrument panel, engine controls, front undercarriage, rear undercarriage, rear tail wheel, sorry, and the tail wheel housing at the rear of the fuselage, and a side view that's nice to show you what the angle should be of the tail wheel when it's set up. Part 3, we're moving straight on to painting the interior of the fuselage, putting in interior glazing, got Bombay to put in, build up and put in, and then we've got a wing spar going in, as well as the upper, well, it'll be the star navigation port, where the navigator will stick his head up to take his star reading for night flying, see where they're going. We've got 2 wings going together. Must remember to put in the landing lights, otherwise you can have problems. Wings going on. Part 6, building up the tailplane. Part 7 is the nose and the nose gun assembly. So it's actually coming together quite quick. Part 8, we've got the nose glazing and a nice side view to show you how it should be faired in nicely. Part 9, we've got the undercarriage and we've got some pieces going into the Bombay and the wheel wells. Part 10, engine nacelles going together. 11, we've got the wheels going onto the undercarriage as well as the wheel bay doors. Okay, part 12 is we've got underwing fuel tanks, bombs going into the stored Bombay, and then 13 we've got options of Bombay open or Bombay closed. 14, this is going a bit back and forth. Okay, right, so it's telling you open or closed. Closed option is 13, open option is 14, which is the whole page. It looks quite detailed. Part 15, again, that's just continuing on with the Bombay to make sure you've got the right orientation of the doors, and that's actually a reasonably detailed picture. Part 16, we're building up the rear belly gunner's position and the tailwheel doors. Part 17, we're doing the upper mid gun turret. And finally, part 18, we're putting on the glazing and the upper mid gun turret. Now, some of these things we might need to joggle around. Me personally, I think I would like to get the glazing on quite early and get it painted along with the airframe. It all depends how you like to do it. And same with the gun turret, probably do that too. And moving on to the final construction of the engines and then the propellers going on. Again, I probably would prefer to get the engines painted up, the cowlings assembled and all assembled onto the engine nacelles to make sure the fit's right and proper before I actually put paint onto the fuselage. That way you don't end up destroying all the hard work by making a mistake. So part 19, we've got the US Navy PV-1 boo number 48895 Patrol Bombing Squadron VP-133 based out of Ata Iwo Jima. So based at Iwo Jima, 1945. And this is the classic one with the octopus scheme on. Part 20 is the US Navy PV-1 boo number 48891 pilot Butch Manson Patrol Bombing Squadron PV-135 based at Attu, Alaska, 1943. And then the last one is Royal Canadian Air Force Ventura number 2195 OF of number 149 BR Squadron, Prince Rupert, British Columbia. And that's an interesting scheme. H is intermediate blue, so you've got an overall intermediate blue scheme with a light grey under scheme, rather as the intermediate blue, dark sea blue and white for the US Pacific aircraft. And then we've got a few extra decal placements and painting guides here. So not just too involved, it looks to be quite a simple build. So let's get back to the sprues and see what we've got. So we started with probably what you would think one of the most important ones is the fuselage screws. So nice crisp plastic and reasonably nice moulding. Now, as I said, this boxing is the original boxing of this kit, so this will be the old original kit, so it'll get in the best of the moulds. Now, as you can see, We've got lovely interior detail on the bomb bay doors. We've got nice interior detail here for the rear gunner's position. Reasonably sparse here at the cockpit, but to be honest with you, you're probably not going to see much. We've got reasonably detailed pilot seats, instrument panels, cockpit floor. Yeah, even down to the pilot's cushion there. What I would say is it's all recessed panel lines. They're possibly a little bit heavy, but when you've painted it up, I think they'll tame themselves back a bit and they'll take a wash really, really nicely. The interesting thing will be to see if they're an even panel line between the fuselage and the wings. So, other side of the sprue, we've obviously got the right hand side fuselage. We've got the bomb bay, which has got quite a nice bit of detail on it. Bearing in mind this is probably a 20-year-old kit. Instrument panel actually looks really, really nice, as does the control column, and it's not often you get a control column where they've actually moulded in the engine controls, so quite nice. The seats are really rather nice. Moulded in seat belts. I'm sure they're replaceable if you want. As I said, I'm building this straight out the box, so I shan't be replacing them. And really, really refined yoke controls. Very little flash, very little burring. Actually really nice moulds. Right, moving on from that, we have got the nose pieces. Again, nice recessed panel lines, in keeping with the fuselage. I think they're not too dissimilar, maybe even a little bit more sharper than the fuselage, but they'll be all right. We've got the lower gun nacelle, and we've got the upper rear turret mount. All nicely moulded, nice crisp, kind of off grey plastic. Right, we'll look at the wings next because it's another big sprue. See, I've done my scalpel. So, two sprues, wings, and these are looking like they are nearly identical, not quite, but they're close. So, I'll tell you what, I'll take this one because this has got the copyright. So, the date of this kit is, if you can see that, it's 2011. So, it's a 14-year-old mould. So, for 14 years, we're not doing too bad. Right, wings. Again, recessed panel lines, maybe slightly more refined than on the fuselage, but roughly in keeping. Not going to complain of that. We've got a nice bit of detail here in the upper wheelbase, and we've got really quite nice panel lines on the engine nacelles. Defined control surfaces, and there's a good distinction between the dividing line for the control surfaces and the rest of the panel lines. Yeah, quite like that. Obviously it's got quite large flap assemblies, but they're not positionable, which is a shame, but you know, you can't have it all. So that's repeated nicely on the second sprue. Right, and the last big bag of sprues. So we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 sprues in here of varying sizes, 5 sprues. So first major one is an engine sprue. So engine detail, actually, do you know what, for its age, really rather nice. Nicely moulded, it'll take a wash beautifully and a detail paint beautifully. Radial engines, got the push rods. The only things that's really missing is the ignition wire circuitry. Whether you can actually see that with the cowlings or not, I don't know. It'll be a close run thing. Again, I'm not going to bother with it. I'm building it out of the box, so it'll just go as it is. We've got some here of the engine, the forward engine nacelles. Not really designed to open up to show detail, so this is just what you'd call a curbside kit. And then finally the propellers, again nicely moulded centre bosses there, great bolt detail. That'll take paint and a wash, lovely. Right, the next biggest sprue from that will be the rear tail assembly. So nicely one piece moulded vertical and horizontal stabilizers. So that's the end of the horizontal stabilizer that comes through the vertical one. Very nicely moulded together. Recessed pan lines in keeping with the rest of the kit. Revell Inc. 2011 Korea. See, there we go. I wonder if this is moulded by possibly Academy, and I wonder if it's been accurate miniatures mould in originality. Not sure on that. I'll have to look on ScaleMates, but if it's moulded in Korea, I wonder if it's Academy that's moulded this, because it is quite Academy-esque, but it's a really nice kit. So sanding sponge, get that off there. We don't want to see that. But nice, clean, flash-free mouldings, just really in keeping with the rest of the kit. Right, undercarriage. So we've got reasonably sturdy undercarriage legs, I think. We've got some 50 cals or 30 cals, and some more gun barrels here. Pitot tube, rear tail wheel, and the detail is actually quite nice. We've got a little bit of a checkerboard tyre pattern here. How that's going to stand up with glue and seaming and sanding, I don't know. It might be that we'll need to take a razor saw and refine some of those details, but out of the box they're really quite nice. We've got an antenna there, and we've got a direction finder antenna there, very finely moulded, and nice attachment points that aren't too big. The more I look at this, the more I'm thinking Academy. It really is reminiscent of Academy. The upper turret, so quite a simple construction, not too much detail. We do have the faintest of cooling holes on the barrel jackets, but nothing to hugely write home about. Again, how much of the detail you'd see if you're super detailed, I don't know, but it's going to be good enough for what we need. Right, we've got the wing fuel tanks, underwing fuel tanks, typical US teardrop tanks, very cleanly moulded, nicely recessed pan line on the attachment points. Yeah, I'm liking that. And then finally the bombs. So we've probably got some 1,000-pounders or 500 kilos, and then 500-pounders or 250 kilos here. Two halves joined together, quick seam, sand and a paint, and they'll be really good. Right, so the final bag, if I'm not mistaken, will be the clear parts. And here we come to a little bit of a problem, something I'm not overly impressed with, but of its time it happened quite a lot with all the model manufacturers. So we've got one clear sprue, and then we've got another one rattling around on each side. Now, I've been lucky there isn't too many scratch marks on the upper rear turret. It's beautiful, clearly moulded plastic. So if it was a fully painted and detailed in the interior, you're going to see that really nicely. But yeah, I'm quite impressed with that, and it survived well rumbling around with the rest of it. Right, cockpit glazing, crisp, sharp, clear. There is, I don't know if you can see that, but there is a witness mark here where the two fronts of plastic, like a cold front of plastic's met. So it looks like a scratch. It's not a scratch, it's just a minor imperfection in the plastic. Yeah, a bit of it disappointing, but it's not something I'm going to lose too much sleep over. The rear underbelly turret plastic, it's a little bit distorted. It's nice crisp moulding, don't get me wrong, but there's a little bit of distortion through the plastic. Same with the front nose. The side windows, again, not too bad. It's going to do what it needs to do. You know, you could probably dip this, might improve it a little bit. But in realism, for the size of cockpit and the size of the glazing, you're probably not actually going to see that much inside, but you should see a little bit with this, although it might not be as crisp as you'd like it to be. Right, now the final thing to look at is the decals. I did take the time to put a little bit of tape just to keep the tissue paper on to protect them. And the decals, yeah, 2011, Revell Inc., all rights reserved. Right, they look not too bad. They're nicely in register, very minimal carrier film, and they look quite thin and delicate. We've got decals here for the instrument panel, propeller decals, and then the US insignia decals and aircraft markings, and then we've got the Royal Canadian Air Force ones here. So not just too many decals. I'm not actually going to be doing the octopus scheme. It's going to be a toss-up between the other Americas scheme or the Royal Canadian Air Force scheme. I haven't decided which, but we'll get there in the end. But they should be quite usable, and bearing in mind these are 14-year-old decals, they're quite nice. You know, they've lasted well, so I'm impressed with them. Right, so that's it. I mean, it's quite a short and sweet review for the kit box contents because there's not actually much in the kit. But what there is, it seems okay. So, I'm going to get this lot back in the box. I'm not going to bother bagging it up again because we are actually just going to go on and build this straight away. So, we'll get it in the box and then we'll come back to me and we'll have some final thoughts and summing up. So there we are, Revell's Lockheed PV-1 Ventura from 2011. Molded in Korea. So whether this is a collaboration between Revell and Academy, or it's molds that Academy have acquired and then sold the kit on to Revell to rebox it, not quite sure. I'm sure Scalemates would illuminate us as to the true lineage of this model. It's probably something I probably should have done before I made this video, but it doesn't matter. The kit itself, for a 14-year-old kit, well, no, 2011, 13-year-old kit, is really rather good. Out of the box, looking at it, it's crisply molded. The panel lines are reasonably consistent. They're all recessed. They should take a wash nicely. There's quite a reasonable amount of detail in the kit, and something out of the box, purely, you know, for say a beginner or somebody who wants to get a larger model to experiment on paint techniques and whatnot. I think this is quite a good kit. It's not a dear kit. This one I picked up in the region of about £20–25. It does retail, I mean that was on eBay, but if you're buying it from a model shop, if you can find it, might retail a little bit more, but there's plenty of them on eBay from all the different times they were released. As I said, this happened to be an original release. You can tell that by the box. The rest of them, more modern Revell boxings, will probably be end opening. But it's a good kit, I think, for someone who wanted to move up from, say, a single engine 48 scale aircraft to a more technically demanding build that's not beyond the realms of an ordinary modeler. So, my thoughts are, it's well worth picking up. It's well worth giving a go. There is aftermarket available for this. So if you wanted to go down the route of enhancing the detail, it's a good way of getting into that too. But as I said, it's going to build a really nice model straight out of the box. So for anybody that wants just to hone their skills and improve their skills, definitely a good model to get. And it's an interesting model. It's something a bit more different from the mainstream of the kits. And if you really wanted to go for the octopus paint scheme, that's quite unusual and novel. So as I said, this one is my next build, and I'm going to start building it straight away after I finish this video. And hopefully, looking at the instructions, it shan't take too long. We can go through getting the interior together, and then we can look at how we can try and liven up the surface with all these different modulation paint techniques and pre and post shading and all the buzzwords that you can throw around. For me, it's just a case of how can we paint this to bring it more to life and add more interest to what is already an interesting model. So anyway, if you've got this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. It's always appreciated. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down. I do read them all, and I do try and reply to them all where I can. And as I said, the build video is coming right on the back of this, so hopefully we can get it built and finished in a reasonable amount of time before we move on to the next project, and before we finish up some of the other work I've got ongoing, which is ongoing in the background, but will be coming back to the channel very shortly. So thanks guys, take care and happy modelling.